Hello everyone, welcome to PUC Online Classroom. Today I would like to continue our lesson, so we're moving on to activity number 10, grammar focus, questions with how. Alright, so as you can see right here we have a lot of examples and we have questions with how, like how cold, how hot, how far, how big, how high, how long, and how deep. All right, so if you take a look at the first question, how cold is Toronto in the winter? So whenever you see in the winter something like this, cold in the winter, you cannot say hot in the winter, right? But of course, the answer, you can see it gets down to minus 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, or you can say minus 13 degree Fahrenheit. How hot is Fairbanks in the summer? And it gets up to about 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degree Fahrenheit. How far is Toronto from Fairbanks? So you can say it's about 4,800 kilometers, or you can say 3,000 miles. How big is Seoul? It's 605 square kilometers, or you can say 233.66 square miles. What about this? How high is Mount Everest? So it is 8,848, so 8848 meters height, or you can say 28 feet. And how long is the Mississippi River? It's about 3,700 kilometers long, or you can say 2,300 miles. And last one is how deep is the Grand Canyon? So it's about 1,828 meters deep, or you can say 6,000 feet. Okay, so the question is, how do we know that we need to ask how cold, how hot, how far, how big, how high, so on and so forth? So the answer is very simple. You need to take a look at the answers of the question. All right, because in your exam they will ask you to use how cold or how hot. It depends. All right, so you need to take a look at the answers. For example, when you see it gets down like this, so it must be about the temperature, and gets down means cold, so that you have to say how cold. And when you say gets up, you need to ask how hot. It's also temperature. And when you see kilometers or meters, it doesn't matter, without anything at the end. All right, without anything, so use how far from one place to another. But how big is Seoul? We ask about the size of that place. And when you see square, it can be square miles, square kilometers, or square meters. So you need to ask how big. Remember that, okay, when you see square. But without square, for example, it's just 605 kilometers. Without square, it's going to be how far from one place to another, okay? But with the word square, you need to ask how big. And for how high, you don't need to care much because we see high at the end, so you need to ask how high. Long, you also need to ask how long. Deep, you need to ask how deep. All right, so let's try to understand further about that. Okay, so understand the form a little bit. So right here we have form how plus adjective is or are subject. It depends. All right, so you can see how big is Cambodia. How do I know that? How do I know that we need to use big? Just because we see the word square right here. And how do we know that we need to use long? Because we have long at the end. All right. And how do you know that? How do we know that we need to use deep? Because we have deep at the end. All right, and like large is not in the lesson, so you don't need to focus on that. Okay, because light right here we focus on the amount of something, so that is not in our lesson, so you don't need to care much about this. But I want you to take a look at how adjective is or are subject. Okay. All right. So once you finish, learning all of this, you can go to exercise A. That is your practice. So let's answer to the question by just taking a look at number one, okay, which is an example. As you can see right here, we have high at the end, so we should ask question with how high, right? And right here we have square miles or square kilometers. You see square, so the question must be how big. And we see long, it should be how long, okay? And right here we don't see anything, we just see 400 kilometers from Tokyo, so it should be how far. And look at the last one, number 5, we see the temperature and we have a verb phrase get up, okay? So get up means getting higher, so that should be how hot. Okay, very simple like this. All right, so when you finish practicing this one, everyone, so you can go to number 12, not 11. 11 just writing, just writing about the article of a certain place, so you don't have to, okay? So let's go to reading right here. Look at the title of the article and the pictures. Why do you think these places are so clean? So in order to find out whether they are really clean, you need to read the text. Alright, so there are 3 places right here. Just go through this text and try to understand why they are so clean. And once you finish this, you also can answer question in part B and part C. Part C, read the article and answer the questions. Okay, so we have 6 questions. So read the text and try to answer to the questions. Alright. Okay, I think that's it, everyone. Don't worry, I will give you all the answers for this unit. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can leave me your question in our Telegram group chat and I will answer to your questions as soon as I can. All right, but before I leave, I just want to wrap up a little bit about how. Okay, so how plus adjective and then verb to be, is or are, and the subject. And in order to find out whether we should use cold, hot, far, I already explained the keywords. So gets down means how cold, gets up how hard, without anything is about how far. When you see square, it's about big. You see high, how high. When you see long, how long. When you see deep, it should be how deep. Okay? Alright, that's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much. Goodbye.